How's it going, guys? It's the Pixelated Pumpkin, and in today's video I'll be ranking all 20 Spirit Halloween 2024 animatronics from worst to best. Now I know a ton of you already hate me for this one, but coming in dead last, we have my least favorite animatronic of the year being Barnaby the Bear. Now I have one very big issue with Barnaby, so let me talk about that at the end. Let me get my positives out of the way first. I love the balancing on the ball here, and I love how they kind of worked him into the carnival theme with making a circus act bear. I think they could have just made a generic bear animatronic, but they chose to do something pretty unique here, and I definitely respect them for that. I think the animation is great, I think the audio is fine. Here's where my issues lie. Barnaby is just a normal bear, not even a normal bear, he almost looks like a teddy bear. He's honestly cute looking. Besides the red glowing eyes and sharp teeth, there's absolutely nothing scary about this one. It's like they forgot to make him Halloween related in the slightest. What I think he should have been was a zombie bear. Let's take a look at the Fear Valley Wolf from Home Depot this year. If they did that for Barnaby and gave him these gross fleshy looking rips and tears all over his body, I would have loved Barnaby. Honestly, he would probably come in the top 5. But just because they made him a normal looking bear, not even a teddy bear, I really do not like this thing at all, and I think it is way too silly and cute looking. Sorry, Barnaby, but you're coming in dead last.
Hey everyone!
Here is another one a lot of you will probably be very angry at me for, but coming in second to last on this list, we have Bobby Strings. Now, I don't think there'll be as many people mad at me because this seems to be a very divisive prop this year. I feel like half of this Halloween community loves it, while the other half absolutely despises it, or felt very let down by it after they heard the phrases at least. I fall into the camp that has hated this guy since day one, since as soon as he was revealed, I was immediately let down. Now, I love creepy puppets and marionettes. You could do so much with that for Halloween animatronics, and this guy, at least for right now, being the only one, is just awful. I'm sorry, but I just hate Bobby Strings. The design is just so goofy and silly and dumb looking, and the furthest thing from scary, that big cartoony head with those big cartoony eyes just makes me more angry than scared, to be honest with you. There's so many easy ways to make such a creepy looking puppet prop. They wouldn't even have to try that hard, but the fact they just went in the complete opposite direction and made something so silly and dumb looking just really makes me angry. Now, I should mention that these are only my opinions, and if you like Bobby Strings, which I'm sure there are a lot of you that do, I'm completely fine with that. I totally understand why people like this guy. I should have probably said that in the beginning, but I really do. I think there definitely is a market for a prop like this, but it is absolutely not for me. Again, I love creepy and scary marionettes and puppets, and this guy just kind of failed at that task. Especially for being a Halloween prop, they really should have tried at least a little bit harder to make it scary. I think if Techie Toys tries their hand at a puppet prop, we could have something really cool and really creepy from them. But for the time being, Bobby Strings will just have to suffice. I can't say I'm happy with that, but oh well. Man, we are off to a rough start, and I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, how could I put Night Terror above Bobby Strings and Barnaby the Bear? Look, I'm sorry, but at least this guy is somewhat Halloween themed. I understand how Bobby Strings can be creepy to some people. I really don't for Barnaby, but this guy here is just a nice little classic Halloween monster. And while the execution of this prop really isn't great, and I do not like the animation one bit, same with the audio, I still think the design of this guy, while extremely simple and run-of-the-mill, is pretty cool, and again, fits with the whole Halloween vibes. I also love how you have the option to have the light on in the head at all times while he's plugged in. That's really cool, so he doesn't have to be going for him to light up. That actually adds a lot to this guy in my opinion and makes him a much cooler decoration. I also love how his pumpkin face is completely blacked out. That's a really cool and unique twist on the pumpkin head creature that we haven't seen yet. And just overall, I think this guy is pretty solid for a $100 animatronic. I still don't think he's worth $100, but if you use a coupon on him, I guess he'll end up being around $80, which I can't say is that bad of a price for this guy at all. And typically, I don't like having a price be a factor in how I rate these animatronics, and I know this guy is still third worst on this list, but look, if you're looking for something cheap, this is definitely not the worst option for you.
Cross the threshold where the dead walk free.
Coming in 17th place, we have probably the most boring prop of the year, being the Cremator. Now, when I heard that name, I was expecting something awesome, and we did not get that whatsoever. I mean, this guy is pretty much just a black sheet holding a skull with some subpar flame effects going on. I mean, seriously, they couldn't even nail the flame effects that good. The only positives I have for this guy is the name, for one, the Cremator, that is just badass, and two, the audio and phrases. I love this dude's voice. Techie, whoever you got doing your voices for you is doing an amazing job, so tell him to keep it up. But yeah, I am not a fan of this one really at all. I guess you could say that at least Bobby and Barnaby are interesting concepts. Yeah, I agree with you there. I still think there's some spookiness going on with this guy though, so that's why he's a little bit higher than those two, and I guess Night Terror as well. But seriously, they could have done something so much more creative than this. It's just very, very run-of-the-mill. And I hate to say that a prop with a name like the Cremator is this boring, but oh well. Here we go again is all I could say when talking about Towering Tula, because it is yet another Mr. Dark reskin, and the worst out of the 3 versions of Mr. Dark we have now, well, including the original, of course. I think Hellspawn is way, way better looking than this one, and of course, the original Mr. Dark just tops all. But how does Towering Tula stand up on her own? Well, not great. I think the design here is really weak, and I think the face hardly resembles a witch. It looks more goblin-like to me, and it's very cartoony looking as well. I think it's probably the eyes here. They just don't do a good job looking realistic, to be honest with you guys. I can't say I'm a big fan of witch props, and they aren't done great most of the time, but when they are done right, you could definitely tell, and this is definitely one of those that isn't done right. The audio on this one really isn't that great either, not as scary or intimidating as Hellspawn or Mr. Dark, so in the end, I think you could just kind of write off Tula as yet another witch prop and yet another Mr. Dark reskin. Nothing really notable here. The thing that really bothers me about this one, which I guess really isn't the prop's fault, but it's that Spirit Halloween chose to put this one in stores this year, when we could have had a really cool inbox only prop be set up in its place instead, or have one of the online onlys in store this year. I would have killed to see Shirley Stab or Rick Ratman in this one's place, but no, they chose to go with this one instead of something cool like that, because why would they? So yeah, I can't say I'm a fan of Towering Tula whatsoever. Number 15, we have Michael Myers, our first licensed prop from Spirit Halloween on this list, and definitely our worst licensed prop from Spirit Halloween on this list. Anyways, I think it's really hard to get a Michael Myers animatronic right, especially with the mask. I don't even know if they have the rights to use the actual mask molds, so if that's the case, I really can't blame them. But there are definitely a few more fatal flaws about this prop here that make it come so low on this list. For one, the audio. If you can't get the rights to the actual Halloween theme, do not have piano music on the prop's audio. It sounds awful unless it's the actual Halloween theme. Just stick to the heavy breathing. The animation as well isn't terrible for a Michael Myers prop. It's very, very stiff, which I guess makes sense for Michael Myers, but it still feels a little bit too robotic. If you want to have a Michael Myers prop, my suggestion is get this thing and throw a Trick or Treat Studios Michael Myers mask on top of it. I'm sure that will end up looking really cool, and it'll probably be the most accurate a Michael Myers prop could ever get. But for this Michael Myers prop as it stands alone, I don't want to say it's horrific. We've definitely seen worse Michael Myers props, but it definitely isn't that great either. Coming in at number 14, we have Gravestone Ghoul. who's very generic and very run-of-the-mill in terms of graveyard zombies, but that doesn't necessarily make him bad. In fact, I think this is a pretty decent zombie prop, especially with the tombstone element in front of it. I do like that a lot. The only thing I don't like here is the animation and this guy's face. The face feels very Morris costumes rather than Spirit Halloween, which definitely isn't a compliment. And the animation, I really think he should have just been rocking back and forth violently instead of taking it around town, as SpongeBob would say. I think it looks a little bit silly the way he does his animation. I think if he was just moving back and forth violently, almost shaking the tombstone in front of him, that would have been really, really cool, but oh well. I definitely don't think the animation he has is awful, though. In the end, I think Gravestone Ghoul is a perfectly fine generic zombie prop, because sometimes you need those. It's definitely more of a filler placeholder prop this year, not something they put too much creativity into designing. But once again, I think sometimes you do need props like that, and I'm not going to hate on Gravestone Ghoul because of that. What I would have preferred to see out of this guy, however, is definitely a much more realistic face. But other than that, I really can't hate on Gravestone Ghoul, because again, I feel like sometimes you do need the generic props.
Like and subscribe!
At lucky number 13, we have Max Straw. Now, Max Straw is just an okay scarecrow, in my opinion. Definitely a little bit below par. I'll talk about my positives first. For one, the floating effect here is fantastic. I really like how he's holding onto the pitchfork there. It looks really cool. And again, the floating effect is pretty creative. I also like this dude's face, and while it's not my preferred look of scarecrows, I always like the more creepy and realistic ones, I think it is super unique and super creative looking. It's almost like a monster scarecrow, which I think is really cool. And now for some of the negatives, which aren't too bad, I guess. We have the animation. It's just a simple head turning, and you're left wanting a little bit more, though. I'm not sure what else they could have done since he is floating, but I'm sure they could have come up with something a little bit more creative than just the simple head turning. Also, the audio, just the laughter, I mean, it's not bad, but it's not great either. It's pretty boring. I'm happy you didn't say goofy phrases, but just the laughing scarecrow trope, I guess, it's been used before on props like Night Stalker, and I'm sure there's a few others. So I think some phrases, as long as they weren't goofy, could have done this guy nicely. And for my biggest complaint about this guy, it's the size. He's actually a very small prop in person, which I was surprised about. I really wish they made him a much bigger prop. His head is smaller than the average human head, unfortunately, and I was definitely expecting him to be bigger in person, so I was a little bit let down by the size here. That's unfortunately going to be a bit of a common trope throughout this video. A lot of the props of Spirit Halloween this year just kind of feel small, which, again, they're life size, so they're not actually small, but I would expect them to just be a little bit bigger and a little bit more grandiose in person. Overall, for Max Straw, I kind of have the feeling he'll be a bit of a forgotten prop after this year, but in the end, I don't think he's bad.
Coming in at number 12, we have Art the Clown, and at this point throughout the list, these are the props that I'm beginning to like a lot. I think Art the Clown is a great clown. He's certainly very creepy. The animation is fine. The audio is fine too. I guess it fits the movie. But in the end, the reason I'm putting him this low on the list is because I really don't like the Terrifier movies all that much. No offense, I think the acting in them is literally unwatchable. I think the gore is fantastic though. I really haven't seen a movie go that crazy in a long time, so that I appreciate. I also love how Spirit Halloween and Party City this year chose an independent film to base animatronics off of. How cool is that? But overall, for Art the Clown, while I think he is a great clown animatronic for sure, he's just not my personal favorite this year.
You teach a class about slashers, and you still walked into a dark alley. Alone.
Coming in at number 11, we have Ghostface, two licensed props back to back. Now, I think this is a pretty decent Ghostface animatronic. Obviously, we've seen our fair share in the past. I definitely don't think this is a bad one whatsoever. He has definitely grown on me quite a bit since I first saw him, and let me tell you, he looks really cool in person. I think the animation is pretty good here. The head tilt, while being an odd choice, definitely sort of adds to it, and the stabbing motion still looks pretty cool, and it's very, very violent. The audio comes from Scream 6, which, to be honest, I just wish it came from the original movie. movie, but this seems to be a Scream 6-centric Ghostface with the sort of withered mask option he comes included with. So I understand why they chose phrases from that movie, but I'm always going to be the biggest fan of the original for sure. But in the end, while I think this is a very good Ghostface prop, I don't think it's truly great. I feel like there's still much more room for improvement when it comes to Ghostface animatronics. What I really want to see is one that does the knife clean. You know, the famous one that pretty much every Ghostface always does in every Scream movie? I think that'd be such a cool animation to put on one of these animatronics, and I'm kind of surprised they haven't thought of that yet. Like, it seems like a no-brainer in my opinion. But in the end, I think this is a pretty good Ghostface animatronic.
Well, you've caught my eye!
Well, I bet none of you expected me to put this prop this high on the list, but breaking into the top 10, we have Nibbles the Clown. Now, I've been very outspoken about how I do not like this dude's design. I've always said I think it's way too goofy and silly looking, and just another very generic SVI clown design. And while I still agree with myself on that for the most part, I can't help but really like this dude now. I think the motion tracking technology is honestly phenomenal on this, and something that's really grown on me. It actually works pretty well in person, a lot better than I was originally anticipating, and getting to see him in person a few times now and actually try it out, I have to say I am impressed by it. I really hope this technology gets used again on more props and not have it be their whole gimmick. Because with Nibbles, it's kind of his whole thing, even his phrases reference it a little bit too much in my opinion. But still, I think there's a lot of opportunity to use this technology again and have a much cooler character utilize it instead of Nibbles. But as it goes for Nibbles, I don't think he's a bad clown prop at all, but the technology here definitely carries him a lot.
At number 9, we have probably the tallest animatronic Spirit Halloween has ever made, being Giant Death Ray, and it's about time they tried their hand at making a 10-foot, 12-foot prop. I'm seriously not sure why it took them this long to hop on the trend, considering how profitable it was for other companies, but whatever. Anyways, I think Giant Death Ray is a nice addition to the Giga Prop line of animatronics. I think it's for sure cool that we have another alien animatronic at Spirit Halloween. We really do not see enough of those. It's nice that the past 2 years in a row now we've gotten at least one, even though last year's was a license being the Mars Attack alien. But regardless, it's still cool to see another alien. And for being an alien, I think they did a pretty okay job here. My problems lie in this dude's face. While very creepy looking, it still looks a little bit too ghoulish or zombie-ish rather than alien, especially with the cut-off looking nose. But I still think it's a cool looking face regardless. My favorite part about the prop definitely has to be the lights in his body. They look really cool. My only wish for this guy is that there were some lights in the legs as well. I'm not sure why they didn't do that, but I think it definitely would have added a little bit more. But overall, I think Giant Death Ray is a pretty cool Giga prop, and for being Spirit Halloween's first Giga prop, I think they did a good job. At number 8, we have one of the most unique props of the year, being Shirley Stab. Now, I really love the concept here. It is pretty creepy and definitely gory, and you know I love seeing blood on Spirit Halloween animatronics, and this one is definitely not shying away from that at all. I think the carved out pumpkin face on a human is such a cool concept, and let me tell you, it's actually really scary looking. Shirley Stab's definitely a very scary Spirit Halloween animatronic this year. I love the whole 50s vibe they're going for. I think it adds to the creepiness, especially here. That's just really cool and really unique in my opinion. Now, Shirley Stab is really great, don't get me wrong. I just have one or two little gripes about it. For one, I think she looks too much like a mannequin. I think they should have went the more realistic route here and just made her really hyper-realistic. I went even more in on the gore and stuff like that, but it just looks a little bit plasticky, her body, unfortunately. And also the animation is just way too simple. I don't think there's anything wrong with the knife movement here. I just wish she maybe moved from side to side. I'm really not asking for that much more, but just this stiff, robotic knife movement really isn't that great. But overall, I think Shirley Stab's fantastic. I love the audio, I love the light inside her pumpkin face, and I especially love that pumpkin face. So overall, Shirley Stab is a really unique, really scary, and just a really great one.
Yum, yum, yum! Sometimes it's sweet, Sometimes it's not.
Coming in at number 7, we have my favorite clown animatronic from Spirit Halloween this year, being Cotton Candy Dan. Now, this is a really, really unique one for multiple reasons. For one, the concept. I love what he's doing with the cotton candy bucket there, and how he pulls the head out as a jump scare is just so creative and so cool. And I really love how the face looks on the cotton candy victim. And speaking of faces, for Dan himself, he has a really, really unique one. This whole sort of melted skull look they got going on is just so wildly unique and creative. Now, I'm not sure if it entirely works for me. I don't know, there's just something a little bit plasticky looking about it. But other than that, I think it looks really cool, and it's so unique. Don't get me wrong, I really love how unique Cotton Candy Dan is, and I really like his face. The audio is another thing that I don't mind at all. I actually think it's pretty good. I like the one where he's talking about the lost parent. That one actually kind of creeps me out a little bit. I think that's funny and scary at the same time. I also love the voice. The only thing I don't like is the clothing. The color scheme here is just okay in my opinion. I really think his clothes could have been dirtied up a little bit more. They're really so clean and plain looking. I just really wish maybe they added a few cotton candy puffs all over his body or some blood. I think either one would have been fine, but just having his clothes looking so clean really doesn't fit very well. But other than that, Cotton Candy Dan is truly a great clown animatronic, and truly a great animatronic in general. I seriously love Cotton Candy Dan. He's awesome. Coming in at number 6, we have the Dark Princess, perhaps the scariest Spirit Halloween animatronic this year. This one is for sure very strange and very, very creepy looking. I absolutely love that hollow, dead face this thing has. It looks like something straight out of a creepypasta. I also think just the design in general is really good here. The wings are cool. I like how they unfold as she does her jump scare. That's something really cool. And just overall, it's so creepy looking. My only complaint here is that it kind of looks like a bunch of props thrown together. The wings don't fit all that much, but I still think they're a cool addition. Overall, I really love the Dark Princess, and I love the jump scare too. This thing is a reskin of Dagger Mike from last year. I have to say, this is much, much better. I'm not sure why this wasn't sold last year and Dagger Mike was sold this year. It would make a lot of sense for both themes. This thing fits in a graveyard and Dagger Mike obviously fits in a carnival. I think if there's a switcheroo, that would have made a little bit more sense, but whatever. I still think it's really cool to have the Dark Princess this year. I love the audio as well. It's so creepy with the dark whispers and stuff like that. Just really awesome. But in the end, the Dark Princess is certainly a dark, scary, and creepy prop for sure. Now we're down to the top 5, and coming in at the 5th best spot on this list, we have Demonic Gatekeeper. And what an awesome groundbreaker prop this is. Dare I say, this is the best groundbreaker prop Spirit Halloween has ever given us. This thing is just so cool looking, and I absolutely love it for a multitude of reasons. For one, the design. It's fantastic. Though on first glance, it seems like a pretty normal, boring looking Reaper prop, I think the face is absolutely awesome on this one. I love the sort of facial expression this guy has. It's super unique and super cool looking. I love those gross long teeth he has. It's just really strange and pretty scary for the most part. I also love this dude's voice and phrases. Again, they're pretty generic for a Reaper, but still, I think they're great and they fit him perfectly. I also love how you could hook up a fog machine to this guy, and the lighting on this one is also phenomenal. The whole skull lights up as well as the body. That is just so cool. And this dude is just massive in person. He's an absolutely huge groundbreaker prop, definitely one of the biggest we've seen. Absolutely love how this guy works. The animation is also great. I love the mouth movement. I love how he slowly rises out of the ground. Everything just comes together on this guy, and it ends up being one of the coolest groundbreaker props, and definitely one of the better Reaper props we've seen from Spirit Halloween this year. Overall, Demonic Gatekeeper, while nothing really new or that exciting, I still absolutely love him, and that's why he's getting the top 5 spot on this list.
With this candle, I will light your way in darkness. With this ring, I ask you to be mine.
Now I know these are two separate props, but for the sake of this list, I'll be counting them together, and if you don't like it, you could go kick rocks because it's my video and I make the rules. Anyways, coming in at the number 4 spot on this list, we have Emily and Victor from Corpse Bride. These are easily two of the best licensed animatronics of all time, and when it comes to accuracy for the film, these two animatronics excel in that category like no props before it. I mean, seriously, these two might be the most accurate licensed animatronics ever made. Whatever company did these did a fantastic job because it truly looks like these two were plucked straight from the film. I mean, it's actually beautiful how much detail they got down here. And as for the lifelikeliness and animation, oh my god, the servo movements are crazy on these. The blinking, the head tilting, and the movement from side to side all come together to make two of the most lifelike licensed props I think we've ever seen. Seriously, absolutely incredible in all categories here. And look, I know a lot of people probably disagree with me putting these together because really at the end of the day, yes, they are two separate props, but Spirit Halloween wants you to purchase them as a duo, which obviously makes more sense because more money. But I think if you're gonna get one, you would obviously go with Emily. I mean, nobody's just gonna buy Victor individually, so I guess Emily at the end of the day is the better prop and is really the number 4 spot on this list, but I still think both are phenomenal and I really love both of them so much. Seriously, once again, these are two of the best licensed props ever made in my opinion. Absolutely astonishing. Now we're down to the final 3 best animatronics of Spirit Halloween 2024, and coming in at number 3, we have Wanda Webworth. Now, before I get started talking about Wanda, truthfully, these last 3 props are pretty much all equal in my opinion. I had such a hard time choosing which one goes where for these final 3, but in the end, I think the order of the next 3 ended up being how I feel, but as always, things could change with time, and I feel like the order of these top 3 will continue to shift around for me as time passes, but just understand that these top 3 are all absolutely phenomenal animatronics in my opinion. Anyways, here is the Spider Queen herself, Wanda Webworth, and I have to say, what an awesome and super unique character design here. If there's one thing I love about Wanda, it's just how creative they got with this one. I really want to see more of this crazy creativity from Spirit Halloween, because when they give us animatronics like this, I absolutely love it. Wanda is just a crazy spider mutant monster, and I think they nailed it here really well. I absolutely love how she looks. I think she's pretty scary as well, and for the most part, everything about this one comes together to make one really scary and really unique prop. The only thing about this one I have to complain about is the size. In person, she's really only around like 4.5 to 5 feet tall, and she just does not feel big enough, to be honest with you guys. Her face is pretty small, and just overall, I think she could have been a lot bigger and a little bit taller. Also, I think the 2 legs on this one are a little bit strange looking, but that's just more of a nitpick. But in the end, I absolutely love Wanda. It's still such an awesome and super unique prop that I want to see more stuff like this from Spirit Halloween in the future for sure. Absolutely awesome character design here. Finishing with silver, we have Rick Ratman, and what an awesome zombie animatronic this is. Seriously, the gore on this one is absolutely crazy. When this was released for the halfway to Halloween drop, it got my hopes up really high that Spirit Halloween would finally be going back to the gory stuff, and unfortunately that really wasn't the case this year besides Shirley Stab. So I've learned not to get my hopes up again if they do something like this, but seriously, this is the best zombie animatronic Spirit Halloween has released in years. The face is super realistic on this one, and I absolutely love how you have the rat in his head and the rat in his caved out stomach eating him alive. That is just so awesome. Again, I think the gore on this one is such a breath of fresh air, and I'm super happy that Spirit Halloween is at least giving us a little bit of gore, even if they're only on the online-only props. I also think the audio is just so gnarly and gross on this one, and the animation is also great. I love how the rats in the head and body sort of shake around. They're kind of on springs, so as he twitches about, they're going to be shaking, adding some lifelike motion to this guy. Overall, I think Rick Ratman is, again, easily one of the best zombie animatronics Spirit Halloween has released, probably the past 4 or 5 years, and I just think he is so cool, so gross, and so gnarly looking. And the number one best Spirit Halloween 2024 animatronic is...
Come in, my ghoulish guests. My menacing menagerie can't wait to awaken your fears.
That is correct. My number one favorite Spirit Halloween 2024 animatronic is the Ringmaster, the main man himself. Now, I'm sure this caught a lot of you by surprise because I was talking up Wanda Webworth heavy back in my previous Spirit Halloween videos, but to be honest with you guys, after seeing the Ringmaster in person, he is truly phenomenal. I think the projector in the stomach gimmick here is astonishing and so creative. It is seriously so cool looking. I don't know how they did it or how they even came up with it, but needless to say, I'm super impressed by it. I also absolutely love this dude's character design, voice, and just everything about him is so cool. I love the fact he's a human and not a clown. That was definitely a very pleasant surprise. And just really everything about this guy is so perfect in my opinion. I don't think we've seen a human animatronic this good in a long time, and the Ringmaster is for sure one of the best. While he's definitely not the scariest Spirit Halloween animatronic this year, he's absolutely the most creative, interesting, and cool animatronics of all time. Seriously, the Ringmaster is awesome, and he is my number one favorite Spirit Halloween 2024 animatronic. Well, everybody, if you made it this far, I think you owe me a like and a sub. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed my Spirit Halloween 2024 animatronic ranking video. This took a very long time to make, so once again, a like and a subscribe would be greatly appreciated. Anyways, let me know your rankings in the comments below. I would love to hear it. And as for the props that were quote-unquote missing from this video, I just chose not to include any of the returning animatronics, as well as the static ghost face prop and the gray jumping spider, because do I really need to put a jumping spider on this ranking video? I don't think so. So anyways, everybody, once again, let me know your favorites, let me know your rankings, let me know your top 5s in the comments below. Any will do, and I would love to hear it, and I'll try to respond to all of you. Well, anyways, everybody, if you're going to take one thing out of this video, it should be this: nobody outpixelates the pumpkin.